Okay. Next slide when you're ready. Okay. So the concept of voice in education and how for those people identified as having SEN is not a new concept. So if we go on the next slide, the Children's Act identified the need for a range of professionals, organisations, schools and agencies to work together to enhance children's services, and existing research explicitly focuses on voice in relation to that multidisciplinary team. So engaging with children and young people involves listening to the issues that matter to them and affect their experiences in education, health and social care. Next slide, please. So the government is committed to the promotion and protection of children's rights in line with the UN Convention on the Right of the Child. Children and young people should have opportunities to express their opinions and what matters to them and what's important to them. And this is especially important for children and young people with special educational needs and disabilities. Sometimes these people might not communicate in the same way as the normal child, so it's important to take time to understand their needs. Next slide. The SEN Code of Practice requires professionals to have regard to children and young people's views, and capturing the voices of children and young people with SEN has increasingly been recognised as a key element of policy initiatives nationally and internationally. In England, there's an increased emphasis on participation of children and young people in the decision-making process through the SEN Code of Practice, and that was introduced following the Children and Families Act, so specifically focusing on the needs of those with disabilities. Next slide, please. So that is, I suppose, a child-centred approach. However, professional rhetoric aims to ensure a person-centred approach to decision-making. It widely acknowledges the benefit of participation. Children and young people have the right to have their voices heard. However, other practices which fail to listen to the voices of children and young people with SEND continue to be enacted as a way of minimising that association with difference and the possibility of potential disruption to the norm. Next slide, please. So thinking about my own lived experiences, education adopts a particularly dominant discourse in defining intelligence and academic ability. During my own formal education, I didn't fit in neatly to what is now known as the four broad areas of need. Additionally, educators didn't know how to meet my needs. There was an unquestioning acceptance that I'd fit in the corner and not cause a problem, even though my being there was seen as problematic. At no point was I asked how my needs could be met, but if I put my hand up and asked what was written on the whiteboard because I couldn't see it, because of the glare of the light, I would be removed from the classroom and told to stand outside. This wasn't about listening to my voice at all. It rather continued to marginalise and remove the problem, me, from the room. So I learned very quickly which types of knowledge and voices were valued in the room, and that's why in my own teaching practice, I like to think that giving those students with disabilities in particular a voice is so important, and ensuring that their needs can be met, because I want to be that educator that I didn't have. Yeah.
Is that the final slide, Hattie?
That's it, yeah.
Ah, excellent, excellent. Right, any questions, comments for Hattie? Lucy.
Able to create a kind of dialogue and a reciprocal dialogue. What spaces do you think are needed in like either educational spaces, but I'm also thinking, because we're in higher education space as well, do you have any thoughts about what that space might look like for us in a university?
I could only hear a bit of that. So I think for me, it's about taking the time to get to know the students that you're working with. You know, on my sort of cohort of 75 of them, so that's easier said than done sometimes. But I make a point of meeting regularly with those that identify as having a disability, mental health condition, SPLD, and thinking, well, how can we ensure that your needs are met? What reasonable adjustments can be made, particularly in terms of assessment, to ensure that they're meeting the learning outcomes, but also having a positive learning experience, so involving them in that decision-making process.
Okay, thanks. I'm not sure if the mobile microphone is working or not. So there is another question, Hattie. Just wait, hang on a second.
Yeah.
Doing research on voice. To give an example, I myself have ADHD, and also a participatory researcher, similarly with yourself, about actually giving people's voices. And I was just reading, I think there's a lot of research that is done that says it's participatory, it kind of isn't. It's the name only. And it was I was just reading a piece of research that was talking about doing participatory research with those who've got ADHD. And it said we train them to do focus groups for people with ADHD. And I just went, ADHD, focus groups, let's just pause on that for a minute. You know, so it was almost, you know, what do you think of the existing mechanisms and ways of doing research? Because I'm biased, but I kind of think that often they're not fit for purpose. They have neurotypical assumptions of how people express themselves. Does that make any sense, Harriet?
Yeah, so again, I could only pick up on a bit of that. But I think it's that, I suppose, it's that square peg and round hole situation, isn't it? You can't, like, if you've got a particular diagnostic label, so to say, you can't force someone with ADHD how to be able to do or participate in focus groups, because fundamentally some things are just not going to work, are they? And I know it's kind of, it sounds a bit crazy, but for me, like having tried to do observational research with my conditions, it's a bit of a difficult thing to do by myself. But I'm always willing to have a go, and if that's not particularly, if that doesn't fit into those norms that what should happen, then so what? It's about having a go, isn't it? And doing the best that you can do, rather than not doing it all sometimes.
Excellent. Right, so we're going to leave it there for Hattie. So many thanks, Hattie.